Cool. So why don't we start off by telling us a little bit about what you do, what your passion is, what you want to hustle, and all that kind of great stuff.
All right, so my name is Jordan McBarnett, and what I want to do is filmmaking, design, and creative director. So what I want to hustle in is anything that involves with animation and creative design.
Mm-hmm.
So what my goal is to focus on the creative brand, the creative direction of a company
Mm-hmm.
when I'm older, and sometimes dabble in the makings of filmmaking and animation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'm hustling right now is focusing on my craft of animation. If you check on YouTube, my YouTube is Headpaws. Headpaws
This
Productions on
man
YouTube.
plugging and plug shameless promotion. I like it.
Yeah, but I do Lego animations as a whole. Ever since back in 2013, when I was 13 years old, I was always into Legos
Right.
and Lego animation. I performed my craft and I performed it real well, and I hopefully want to stick to creative direction
Yeah.
throughout my years.
Cool. So what do you feel, you know, with entrepreneurship, but also creative design, what do you feel have been the most important characteristics, both individually for yourself that have helped you be successful and chase success in those fields?
Well, the important characteristics is, of course, creativity, but and passion, but uh, you need to know marketing.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know ideals in brand and
Know what you're about is what
yeah,
basically,
know
right?
know
Yeah.
what you are about.
Right.
So you first need to know how you are different from any other YouTuber or any other entrepreneur out there. You
Right.
need to know what makes you you and what makes you different from everyone else.
Just like
So
what's the niche, the value proposition, those types of things.
yeah,
Yep.
what's your niche? What's your niche? You need to figure out what makes you get out of the bed every day.
Amen.
What makes you passionate. But if you want to perform your craft even better, you have to practice your craft. Know what the ins and outs of a business in the creative business is. It isn't always about designing. Look at business and finance. You need to know how to manage your money. That's the most creative. That's probably one of the most important parts about the creative process.
Is knowing how to managing
directions.
everything else.
Yes.
So like you're essentially saying like creativity is obviously the important part. It's your trade, it's what you're specializing in, but you need to be able to manage everything else that goes around that be creativity that allows you to
Yes.
be creative.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, being creative is one thing, but if you can't manage the money, if you can't manage the marketing, if you can't manage the social skills, whatever it might be, then essentially the fact that you want to be creative is kind of nullified because you can't get it out there and just distribute it to the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, you want to do filmmaking, but you already know the shots and the angles, and
Right,
you
sure.
already know how to produce a film, but you don't know the story, man. A story that has characters that are relatable. You need to know how everything in the production works too, and if you want to go into the film business or create YouTube videos, you need to know all the stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about, and I'm a big believer that any sort of laziness, any lack of drive, is not so much a problem with the person as it is a lack of passion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if someone is not driven to do something, if you're lazy about getting your work done, it's not that you're necessarily a lazy or undriven person. It's just that whatever it is you're doing, you're not completely passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like that is something that you've noticed in the creative space, not so much in yourself, but like you've noticed that if you're not absolutely passionate at it, you're not going to be willing to do the work that makes you excellent? Is that something you've noticed?
Yes, that is true. But however, there's creative blocks,
Right.
and every creative person, even an entrepreneur, suffers from creative blocks. For example, you're writing a paper or writing a script or focusing on the design management of something. You have a creative block. Sometimes you need something that drives you. So you talk to people, talk to your friends
Yeah.
and your maybe you have coworkers or anything. You talk to your friends about what you have in mind, and they give you other ideas and other perspectives of your design
Right.
that works. That maybe unlock, frees you from that creative prison or
Sure.
creative block. So yes, you are a passionate person, and if you're a passionate person and you're lazy because you're lacking that drive, I suggest that you go to people, go to your mother, go to your brother, and ask them about your creative drive and ask them about whatever you're creating before you get a new perspective in it.
So what's your opinion on stepping back from the project, like taking some time off to help clear your mind, to help get a fresh perspective? What's your thought on that?
I think it's good, but however, your mind must be always in tune to that creative process too.
So you always got to be thinking
You
about it.
always
The
have
gears
to
always have
be
to be
thinking
turning,
about it. You
right?
don't have to do it. You always have to know. You always have to be thinking about it.
It's always got to be simmering in the back,
Yes,
essentially what you're saying. Yeah.
but everything in the world right now can distract you. So
Right.
I suggest getting a notebook, getting something, a journal to write down everything that you're thinking about or drawing or anything, because um, you'll come back later and realize this is actually a good idea. This might be a bad idea, and you start implementing everything. But uh, the danger in this is that you shouldn't plan too much. You can't plan too much. You had to start doing.
Right. Well, I've often heard that journals are the best place to keep bad ideas because you write. If basically Stephen King said this, that if every idea that falls into your mind is like a sand shaker,
Yeah.
and the big pieces, the great ones, will stick around, and everything else will kind of simmer out. So if you're meant to remember it, it'll stick around and
Yeah.
stay there. So obviously the journal is a place where if you only rely on that, like you were saying, like if you're only planning, if you're only writing stuff down, it's a good place to harbor bad ideas. But if
Yeah.
you do act upon it, if you do just kind of start going with something, it's probably the easiest way to get a feel for how great of an idea or how bad of an idea it actually is.
Yes.
You talked about Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of things like that. How do you feel one can keep their creative drive, their creative passion in a world where there are so many distractions? And secondly, how can one stand out in that field?
Uh, Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook, all social media, isn't a bad thing. It was meant for good things, like staying in touch and discuss topics with certain peers and certain people around the world. But sometimes it can get a hold of your brain where all your life is centered around that. So what I suggest is to not have any notifications on social media apps like Snapchat, because once you get the notification that someone Snapchats you or you get a streak, you start to lose focus on your creative desire or entrepreneurship goals in the future. It's also, it's also funny how these apps had add the notification to not forget about them. So you have the red notification on Snapchat saying that, hey, you have to start your streak soon, or
Right.
someone's messaged you a while back, and it's their way to for
Drive the
them to,
customer back
yeah,
in.
drive the
Right.
customer back. It isn't bad, but
I mean, it's good marketing.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. It's great marketing. So what I'll say is just take off the notifications.
But I think one thing that is really important is that we know that the social media apps are essentially designed to distract because they want to get users back on the profile on the program as much as possible. So what I think it's very important for all content creators to do is to find a way to leverage that system, find when people are watching, find where the eyes are going, and then put your content there in an effort to get noticed. So my question to you is, as someone who's starting out, someone who decides that I want to be a content creator, I want to be an entrepreneur, doesn't matter, but they want to create something and they want to show it to the world. Would you recommend them immediately starting and showing that information and showing what they've created? Or would you say that they need to take time to kind of understand and study what's going on before putting their own work out there, to be kind of judged but also critiqued?
You should definitely go with the second option, which is study the platform, study the area in which you're hoping to release your creative content. So
Do you think that being successful, whether that be in entrepreneurship, content creation, blogging, podcasting, writing, do you think the characteristics that are required of the individual are consistent through all forms of success?
there is a pattern, yes, but these people always think of new ways to sell their product or anything, but there is a pattern in which, one, you need to know your brand, you need to know yourself. Two, get collaborations. Three, know your platform. And four, understand your audience and submit their work to the audience
Right.
after all those three things. So that is the pattern, but yes, there is a pattern.
So essentially, you're saying there is kind of a baseline pattern. However, the individual needs to evolve with the time.
With the time,
Like, because like things change over time. So like, for example, 10 years ago, you wouldn't necessarily have been promoting your stuff on social media, but
yes.
now, if you're not, you're making a mistake. So what I'm saying is like the success characteristics are the same, but you have to adapt them to what is going on currently in the world.
Well, it's good to adapt, yes, because if you know people are using more towards using more of this app, you have to adapt, yes. For example, if you want to be a YouTuber and you want to post, if you want to post videos, you're automatically going to post videos on YouTube. But there's IGTV. IGTV looks like a new playground for video creators to mess with how IGTV will work and everything. So it's good. It's good to stay at that same ball ground where everyone's going, but
Also find the new thing, right?
distance yourself.
Well, yeah, it all comes back to the whole thing about the leverage. It's
Yes.
leveraging the new platform.
Yes.
It's a place where it's not inundated with people with millions of subscribers. The eyes are coming there. It's fresh as new, so it's a place for people to break out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like IGTV.
Right.
Yep.
Cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciate having us on the show, and
Yeah.
best of luck in the future to all your endeavors, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah. Thank you.